Let's talk about Präteritum. Okay, so the grammar, which grammar you should know when you are using sentence framing sentences using Präteritum in past tense. Again, the usual thing: the verb is at the second position, then you have the subject, and dot 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 can mean object, can mean anything. Okay, so uh, the verb should be in Präteritum, should be conjugated for Präteritum. For example, you have the verb essen, right? For ish. Anyone feels like reading this table for me?
Ja.
Yeah.
Ich esse Reise bekomme, du isst Reis bekommst, RSC ist Reis bekommt, wir essen Reisen bekommen, ihr esst Reis bekommt, sie essen Reisen bekommen.
So this is in present tense, right? Presence, right? Verb conjugation in presence. In Präteritum, please read.
Ich has Reis bekommen, du hast Reis bekommst, RSC als Reis bekommen, wir essen Reis bekommen, ihr esst Reis bekommt, sie essen Reis bekommen.
So this is what I mean by Präteritum. Just I can't. I mean, okay. I have said use the this column and this term. I mean, okay. Becomes I have never used in Präteritum. Essen I have never used. It's just too much. No one does that. So you can do the same thing. Let's continue. So the grammar is obvious, right? So normally you have subject, verb, object, and I mean here it's the same thing, right? It's just that the verb is in Präteritum format. There is nothing, no difference, right? And if you have to frame a W word kind of question, it will be the same, right? Subject, verb, sorry, W word, verb, subject, yes or no, the verb will be here and the subject will be here. There is nothing, no big deal about it. So what you have to remember, what you should remember from this section, sentence structure does not change. All you have to do is use the Präteritum conjugation of verb. This is the presence conjugation, this is the Präteritum conjugation. You don't need to learn the Präteritum conjugation of all the verbs. Okay, most normally, so which verbs, again, as I said, there are exceptions. So normally go for perfect participes y, but there will be exceptions. For example, sein, haben, denken, glauben, and especially modalverben. You have to pass the 4 a.m. test when I ask you conjugation table for these things in Präteritum. Okay, because the reason I say that, for example, sometimes, in meetings you say I thought, or I believed. When you are saying these things, you sometimes you start your conversation with these things, right? For example, you give a task to someone and he did not do it, and then you say I thought you were going to finish it, today. You start with these things like I thought, I believed. So there you can use Präteritum, ich dachte, ich glaubte, something like that. Let's talk about perfect. So here is the grammar. At the second position, you have haben or sein. They will be conjugated in present tense, even though you are framing sentence in past tense. Haben or sein will be in present tense. The subject will be, it's either before the verb or before the conjugated verb or after the verb. Okay. If something comes up here, especially, time, today, tomorrow, at this time, blah, 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 the subject will go here at the after the conjugated verb. The other verb, the main verb, will be in participes y, will be at the last position. Okay, check. Gegessen, gereist, bekommen at the last position, and it is in participes y format. Now, don't get confused. Bekommen, we did not write, you just wrote bekommen as it is. Participes y of bekommen is bekommen itself. Okay, there is no difference. Here you see, here I have used habe, here been, here habe. When to use haben, when to use sein? Anyone knows when to use haben, when to use sein?
Yeah, when there is a movement or some kind of change in position place, then we use when.
Yes. And
Otherwise,
otherwise, by default, you
have.
use haben. Yes. So,
Yeah.
reisen, there is a movement, right? There is a movement. So, ich bin. Okay. Uh, okay. There are exceptions to this as well. don't get confused, but let me talk about it. For example, schwimmen is a movement, but if you're just swimming for fun, I say that, what did you do for fun on Sunday? You say, ich hab geschwommen. Geschwommen is participle, so I have schwimmen. I am saying ich hab, I'm not saying ich bin, because I was just swimming around. I can say ich bin geschwommen, but if I say ich bin geschwommen, that means I had this, I swam from one place to another. Of course, when I'm swimming, I'm going from one place to another, but I'm just swimming, for fun. I swam. So you can say ich habe geschwommen. But if you say I swam from this point to that point, ich bin von hier nach hier geschwommen, then you have to say bin. This is an exception, don't need to remember, but I just had to talk about it. If you have any questions, please ask. So what you have to remember when you from this section, first of all, sentence structure does change. For Präteritum, if I go back, for Präteritum does not change. Here it does change. So what you have to do is put haben or sein in the position of actual verb, at the second position. We call it Hilfsverben or Hilfsverb. You have to conjugate it in present tense or in presence. Move the actual verb to the last position, the very last. When I say last, before the full stop, and use its participle zwei. When in doubt, if you don't know which one to use, haben or sein, go with haben. You will be right 90% of the time, I believe. By default, haben. Sein, you know when to use sein. Then there's a movement, there's a change in state. For example, if I say, the tea became cold. Now you're saying, okay, the tea became cold, but the tea did not, now how do you say the tea became cold? If I give you coffee and you don't drink it, of course it's going to get cold. How do you say the tea became cold? No one? Come on. So you'll have to say that the cafe is kalt geworden. Werden is the verb to say to become, and participle zwei of werden is geworden. And you have to say is like sein. You cannot say, haben. You cannot say the tea hat kalt geworden or cafe hat kalt geworden. Tea hat, because here there is a change in state. There is a change in state of the tea. Again, this is no one is ever going to, like grab your neck, why did you say hat kalt geworden and not ist? It's just that I think you should know it. That's it. So here is the, what about, so this, this was the structure for a statement. What about yes or no kind of question? All you have to do, this is a yes or no kind of question, okay? There should be a question mark here, there should be a question mark here. For yes or no, all you have to do is interchange the positions of the, or just remember that the haben or sein or the conjugated verb will be at the first position, and the subject is always tied to the conjugated verb, so it is here after the verb. Everything else remains the same, and of course there is a question mark missing. W word, if you look at it, if I take the structure for yes or no, and if I put W word, it's the same thing, right? You check, W word, haben, sein, subject, subject, ellipsis, dot, 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 and then the verb. Any questions? Please ask. Otherwise, when I ask you to frame a sentence in past tense using participes y, uh, using participes y, please follow this structure. Otherwise, you will unnecessarily increase my blood pressure, which is not good. Let's continue. Plusquamperfekt, not needed for you. But if you're reading books in German, then you may need it. So uh, what happens is that there is no difference. All you have to do is, uh, in perfect, you use haben sein in present tense. Okay. All you have to do is in Plusquamperfekt, you will have to use haben or sein in Präteritum. That's all. So you will have to use haben sein in Präteritum, right? So if you notice, if I go back, here ich habe Pizza gegessen. In Plusquamperfekt, it was ich hatte Pizza gegessen. Ich bin became ich war. Ich habe became ich hatte. That's all the difference that makes when you move from uh, perfect to Plusquamperfekt. Okay, so put haben sein in the position of actual verb. We call, of course, it's called as Hilfsverben, but now you have to conjugate in Präteritum and not in presence. And of course, you have to move the actual verb to the last position, just as in perfect or participle zwei. When you don't know which one to use, go with haben or hatten. Okay. Any questions? So yes, question. Someone said something.
No, as of now, no question.
Okay, no questions. Yeah, but remember the structure. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about, there are, of course, there are three ways to talk about your past in German. When to use which one? when to use which way. So Präteritum, you will notice this in books, newspapers, news channel reporting, official company reports. You don't really need this in daily conversations. Exceptions are people use sein, haben, denken, glauben, gehen, kommen, aussteigen, einsteigen, modal verben. These are just exceptions. So these will be when you use these verbs, you may, and you are talking in past tense, you can use the Präteritum. If I'm saying, I was, for example, if I say I'm 28 years old, I was 27 years old, right? Here I don't have to actually use, I can just say ich bin 28 Jahre alt, ich war 27 Jahre alt. For example, I can say I think, ich denke, I thought, ich dachte. I go, I went. What I'm trying to say is that Preteritum is not that important, but it is important when it comes to specific verbs, modal verbs, sein, haben, especially. Using perfect, you will hear this again. When I talk about, when I say this dot dot dot. See here, I have written aussteigen, einsteigen. When I was preparing this slide, because in my life I use aussteigen, einsteigen in Preteritum. That's why I wrote it. It may not be true for you. Now, how which verbs are relevant for your life and not? We'll talk about that. Just I think today or maybe on Monday we can talk about it. We'll talk about how you can figure out which verbs you are supposed to learn. Not some verbs which some stranger asks you to learn. Perfect. You will hear this in daily life conversations. Also, it makes your life easy. You don't have to remember conjugation of each verb in preteritum. You just have to learn the participes y of verbs that are relevant for you. Okay. Questions? No questions. Plusquamperfekt. I don't think you need this unless and until just learn it when you are when once you are perfect with predatum perfect, then move on with plusquamperfect. Not needed right now. So let's talk about conjunctions, guys. We are done with that. Let's talk about conjunctions. So we learned how to frame sentences in present tense. We learned how to frame sentences in present tense using modal verb. We also learned how to frame sentences in past tense. We also learned how to do that using modal verb. Let's talk about conjunctions. So now you can frame individual sentences, okay? But now you want to frame complex sentences. You want to say sentence, put a comma, and then say something else. You don't want to just write one sentence. So how you can do that? Of course, you will need conjunctions for that. So here you see three specific columns. Anyone feels like reading and telling me what they mean, or you can give me an example as well. You can read all the conjunctions and tell me the meaning. I will have to pick someone, okay? Uh, Good future. I hope it's your name. Do you mind reading?
Yeah.
Okay.
Un
Yeah.
means end, oder, or, aber, but, then. English में then. Sondern special, I believe. And
Stop.
das.
Please stop. So first of all,
Mm.
let's talk. Okay. I will. I'm someone who likes to demotivate a lot. So even though even if I find one mistake, I will point it out. So you said oder, or can you say these two words again?
Oder.
You can say it. I am not sure where you live in Germany. Again, in Germany, we like different places have different dialects. But normally, if you want to speak Hochdeutsch, like the German that they teach in Goethe
Or
Institute, it's oder. Okay, you don't. Whenever you this is A1 stuff, but whenever a word ends with the sound of R, you don't have to emphasize it. Just leave it. You should just read it
Okay.
as oder. That's it. Oder.
Oder.
And this one, how
Oder.
will you read?
Aber.
Don't R word should not come out of your mouth.
Aber.
That's it. Aber. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
So you are right with und oder aber. Then you can think it of as then, but you will be wrong. Then you should think it of as because or as. Okay. So you should think then
Ah,
when you are giving a reason. Okay. Because in some cases then literally means then, you can translate it, you can, but I'm saying think behind, then you use when you are giving a reason. Okay. For example, you should
oh,
study then because you have an exam. Du musst lernen, then du eine Prüfung hast, then du hast eine Prüfung. Okay. Yeah.
okay.
Sondern does not mean special. I think you got confused. What does, she said special, guys, right? So special is an adjective or an adverb, whichever way you think about it. Uh,
We say na Sonderangebot.
that is Sonderangebot, not Sonderangebot.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But there
Maybe
is
I got confused here.
also something called as
Okay.
besonders. Besonders also means specially. Okay.
Yeah.
Besonders. Okay. But Sonder means something else. Anyone? Come on.
Rather, instead.
Rather or instead. Okay. So there is a difference between aber and sonden. When you use aber, when you say A but B, when you say A but B, there can be many things here and B, right? When you use sonden, you say not, Zonden, that will be the only other exception. So Zonden is like rather or instead. Some people think of Zonden as but it's not but, it's rather or instead. That is the other option. Uh, okay, let's talk. Please read this column as well.
Das, weil, da, damit, obwohl, während, bis, ob.
Meanings.
Das is that, while, because. Da means also that. Damit, I don't know. Obwohl, if. Während, I don't know. Bis, uh, till. And ob, from.
So das will mean that. So das will mean so that. While da, they both mean because. Okay.
Okay.
They both mean because. Now you will ask, what is the difference between while, da, and then? What is the meaning? To
Yeah.
answer this, yeah, go ahead.
No,
Anyone
no,
knows?
you're
Okay.
you're telling something, na?
Yeah, I'm
Just
saying,
continue.
yeah. So, if you ask me what is the they both, I said, they both mean because, or they both,
Mm-hmm.
when you're giving a reason. If I ask you in English, tell me what is the difference between hence, as a result, therefore, or thus. I just said thus, therefore, as a result, hence. What is the difference? You will say, yeah, they both mean the same thing, but you have to think, the context is important when you are
Yeah,
writing.
context.
Yeah, so there's the same thing applies to German language as well. Of course,
Okay.
I can tell you when to use which one, but you have to, for now, just understand that context is important. Damit will
Rohit,
skip.
da is there, right?
Da is there when it is used on its own. Let's say if you're sitting in a park and I come to you, hey, do you know where is the nearest kiosk? I am hungry, and you can just point and say da.
Hmm.
That is there, but it is also a conjunction. The same word can have different meanings.
Okay.
What you said is right. Da also means there, da,
Hmm.
here, but those are individual words. Okay, but the same word is here a conjunction. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So let's
And what
start.
is the meaning of damit?
Damit will skip for now because damit you can think it of as because, but it's not good. We need a special search session for that damit. Yeah, we need a special session.
And
We'll talk.
bis and ob is correct, or bis
Ob
means
is incorrect. It means whether, like whether A
okay.
or B. Can you tell me whether we are going or not? Can you tell me whether we are starting or not? Whether. Okay.
Okay.
Bis means still. Während means during. Uh,
Okay, during.
Yeah, please understand, each of these, these are words, and here I am calling them conjunctions. We will talk about, I will have similar slide where I will have the same words, bis, während, and there I will tell you these are no more conjunctions, these are prepositions now. So the same word, you should think of it as Pikachu, Raichu. Here it is a conjunctions. At some other position, it will become a preposition. Bis is also a preposition. Während is also a
Yeah.
preposition. But here, think of them as conjunctions. Mm, obwohl, anyone?
Obwohl,
Even though,
if.
although.
Even though, although. Yeah, not if. Even though, although.
Okay, even though.
Yeah, please read this column as well.
Dann, then, danach, after that, deswegen, that is why, daher, I don't know, darum also, I don't know, wherein, during, bis, till, ob,
Yeah, I think it's a mistake.
you said, but I forgot.
It's a mistake, but it should not be in this column. Okay, so wherein means during, but the you said you forgot. That is true. Many of you who are noting this down, if you don't revise, you will forget the meanings. Okay, so you can find this information in a short YouTube video with someone else with much better audio quality, sound quality, and so on. But what I'm saying is that practice, otherwise you'll forget. So dan means then, danak means after that, or deswegen means again. Deswegen means what, guys?
Uh, hence or like this,
This means therefore.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, therefore.
Yeah, I think I did a mistake. I said, okay, no, I did not do a mistake. So deswegen means therefore. Daher also means therefore. But you have to check, daher, if I really have to go into theory, hair, whenever you see hair, it is talking about, origin or source. So uh, we'll talk about this later, but they both mean this, deswegen, daher, danach, darum. Deswegen, daher, darum, they both mean therefore. But you have to think, the context is more important. We'll talk about them. Okay. Also, we'll talk about them. But what is important is that the reason I have clubbed them into three different categories is, please read these sentences for me.
Und ich will Deutsch lernen, weil ich Deutsch lernen will. Deswegen will ich Deutsch lernen.
Okay, so ich will Deutsch lernen is a sentence, right? I want to learn German or I wish to learn German. If I use any of these conjunctions over here, there is no change to the sentence structure, right? All that happens is that I become small or E becomes small, and then so the sentence was ich will Deutsch lernen. If I add any of these conjunctions, nothing changes, just und comes and takes over the first position. When you use one of these conjunctions, what happened over here, if you notice, the will, the conjugated verb, it got pushed from its position to the last position. And what about over here? The subject and the verb got interchanged, or the subject and the conjugated verb got interchanged. I hope it makes sense. Now, how important is this? That for example, if you say weil ich will Deutsch lernen, is it a big deal? No. People will know what you're trying to say, but on paper, on exam, they will cut your marks. They may give you 0 marks if you say weil ich will Deutsch lernen instead of saying weil ich Deutsch lernen will. This is important. This is also, I want you to remember, this is A1 level stuff when I ask you to frame a sentence using a conjunction. Any questions? Any questions? No questions. So, what you have to remember is with these conjunctions, the conjugated verb, okay, notice I'm saying conjugated verb because we also have lernen over here, but it is not conjugated. So, the conjugated verb is at the second position after the conjunction. Okay, now this, I think it's complicated the way I wrote it. All you have to remember is nothing changes. That's it. The conjunction comes and takes the first position. With this one, the conjugated verb will be at the last position. The conjugated verb will be at the last position. And with this one, the conjugated verb will be at the first position after the conjunction. Again, I think I have to reframe these titles. But you get the feeling, right? What I'm saying. Any questions, please ask. Okay, let's talk about pronouns and articles very quickly. If you don't know this, guys, don't join A2 sessions. Okay, I mean it. If you don't know pronouns and articles, don't join. So these are the nominative, accusative, and dative pronouns. Okay, when I say that, please, if you don't know, please don't join. This is so basic. You need to know this. No one can teach you. It is something you have to memorize. That's it. There's nothing to teach about it. So anyone, let's see if someone wants to. I can. Karthik, you did not speak today. Do you mind reading this column for me? Like Ishmish Mia, Du Dishtia, and so on.
Yeah, Rohan, I have already spoken.
Okay. But you can continue, no problem.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Ich mich mir, du dich dir, wir uns, er sie es, in sie es, im hier him, hier euch sie innen, sie innen.
Please read this word again, this one.
Him.
You are reading it, so you are reading it like the way you read, at least to my ears, it sounded like this one. It's not him, it's im. Like e comes
Im.
first. Okay? Yeah. One more time.
Yeah. Im.
Yeah, im. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. As I said, guys, my main job is to demotivate you, like point out your mistakes, so please don't mind. So now if you notice over here, when let's talk, this is A1, but let's talk about it, you notice this she, right? When you go from nominative to accusative, ish changed, do changed, via became uns, do became this, ish became mish. But z remained z. Even this z remained z. Even this z remained z. These are just tricks that you can remember. When you go from nominative to accusative, whenever you have a z, whether small or big, it remains the same. Okay. Also, this z, the capital sz, if you notice, everything else is small, but this one I have capitalized. Does that tells you that whenever, it does not matter where it is in a sentence, whether it is just at the beginning, in the middle, or wherever, it has to be capitalized. In German language, there are three rules when to capitalize something. The noun, always capitalize. This z, always capitalize. And of course, the first word of the sentence, like just after the full stop, that also has to be capitalized. Okay. And because this is capitalized, ihnen is also capitalized. Okay. Also, one thing to remember, this ia is different from this ia. This ia is, now if I just write ia, I tell you what is the difference. There is no difference, but you understand, right? This ia is the dative of z, and this ia is just nominative. That's it. Let's talk about definite articles. Anyone wants to give me the, let's see, Kirtika? Rishabh, I'll give you something difficult. Kirtika, do you mind giving me this table? This table is for definite articles. So you have to tell me what is the definite article for this one, for this one, for this one, and for this one.
Yeah.
Feel, yeah.
Ein,
No,
ein, eine,
no, definite, not indefinite.
uh,
The,
there, the, this, the, then, the, this, the, them, then, them, then,
again, this one,
then,
and this one.
then.
This one is correct, this one is wrong. It is there.
Okay.
Okay. Genitive not needed, let's ignore. Okay. Genitive is not needed, let's ignore that. So let's talk about, can you give me the indefinite articles as well?
Yeah. Ein, eine, ein, no, nothing.
Very good. Yeah.
And einen, eine, ein, einem, einer, einem.
Perfect. So please give me the Negationsartikel as well. Kein.
Kein, keine, kein,
Use the logic.
keine,
The ending here? The ending is,
keine,
yeah.
keine, keinen, keine, keine, keinem, keiner, keinem, keinen.
The way she read, I like it because she emphasized all the endings. But in real life, when I say this and this, it will sound the same, because I just told you, whenever a word is ending with the sound of r, you don't emphasize it. So I will say this as kaina and this also as kaina. But when you are reading, when you are learning, just so that your brain understands there's a difference, you have to emphasize kainer when you are reading and talking. But in real life, a word ending with r is not emphasized. Okay. Just let's talk about this logic you already know, but let's talk about this. When you go from nominative to accusative, you know only masculine changes. See, there became then, this ones remain the same applies to here as well. Kind became kainen, these ones remain the same. Here, ein became einen, these ones remain the same. Also, the change was like, you have to make the ending sound like end. So there become den, kind became kainen, ein became einen. Okay. Let's talk about dative. In dative, masculine and neutrum are the same. Them, keinem, einem, einem, and the ending is im. Okay. And what about feminine? Feminine is er, der, keiner, einer. Here, plural, they, ending with n, again, keinen, and this one does not exist. Let's talk about possessive article. So these are possessive articles for masculine nominative case. Okay, so with this, now if you have to build a table, you will have one table for mine, one table for I mean this kind of a table, right? So you will have one table for mine, one for thine, unser, and so on. Please do this exercise. We'll very quickly go through it. Maybe someone can build this. Kritika, can you build this table for me for mine?
Yeah. Mine, mine, mine. Mine. Accusative, meinen, meine, mine. Dative, meinem, meinen.
Perfect. Similarly, you can build this table for thine as well. So, let's talk about this one important thing. It's important for exam, but you can be careful to avoid it. But let's talk about this. Whenever I said that, whenever uh, you have a specific noun which is using this article, and the noun is plural and it is in dative case, so of course you will use den, keinen, and meinen. But in plural dative case, there is also an effect on the noun itself. I don't know if you can read this red highlighted part, but for example, if you say, ich gehe nach Hause, you don't, house is the word, but you say Hause, okay? And the reason is that nach is a dative kind of uh, preposition, and it makes house dative. And okay, let's not talk about that. We'll skip this part for now. We'll skip. Let's talk about plural. Let's do it. So if I say, let me use this example. If I say I help the men, so ich helfe die Männer, but is the correct? It's not correct, right? Because Männer is plural and plural dative is den, so I will have to say den. But even this one is not correct, because when a noun is plural and it is a dative case, the ending should sound n. The ending should sound like, it should have the sound of n, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so Männer will become Männen. What about if I'm saying, I help the woman? So Frau, Frauen, right? But here you don't have to make the ending sound extra n, because the sound of n is already there. This is what the right part tells you. Any questions what I just said? If no questions, let's continue. What about this one? When a noun is singular but neutral or masculine and it finds itself in dative case, then you have to make the sounding sound like a. That's what I said. Ich gehe nach Hause. You don't say nach Haus, because after nach it is dative, and house is not ending with the sound of a. So you have to add this extra sound a. Hause. Okay. If you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, I would like to continue. No more questions. So, you can build this table. She built it for mine. You can do it for unser as well, and you can do it for thine. You can do it for sein. You can do it for ihr. You can do it for this ihr as well. For euer, you have to be careful. Here, this is euer. And if you want to make it sound accusative, you will add the sound of en, but you also have to remove this e from here or a from here. Okay, so so it will be a u r a n, not a u a r a n. Be careful with this one. Any questions? Okay, if no more questions, uh, nominative, accusative, dative case. Let me check the time. We'll do it. I think it's already 8:32. We'll talk about it next time, guys. Okay. We'll do this revision, nominative, accusative, maybe sometime later. From next session, we'll start with the actual A2
Just maybe
topics.
I missed one thing. That ish, mine, the do, thine. What do you call them and what forms it is? Those are
So,
the
so
possessive pronouns, right? Is mine, do thine.
Yeah, possessive, not pronouns but articles. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's an article. For example, my job, my family, my laptop, your family, your job. You know, but uh, whether whether laptop is neutrum, and if it is neutrum and it finds itself in nominative case, it will be, if I'm saying, like here oya means, third party, not third party, yeah, third party, wait, second party plural. Ia is second party plural, like, I'm talking about you, right? For example, your time, so I will say, if I say time, site is feminine, so it has to be in this column. Now whether I say site in nominative, accusative, or dative, it will determine whether I say eurer side, or eurer side. It depends. Did I answer your question or confuse you more?
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Please ask, if you need more clarity, please ask. But
No, that's what I'm fine. I think I'm sometimes confused with when you say mine handy, mine handy. That depends upon the handy or depends upon the person.
it will never be my, no. So first of all, no. Wait. Let's see. If I say, you know, you have my phone. Okay, so I will say du hast mein Handy. If I say you have her phone, it will be du hast ihr Handy. It will never be ihre Handy, seine Handy, uh, because it is, first of all, you have to ask, whether handi is masculine, no feminine, or neutrum, or plural. Handi is here. First of all, it is singular, and then we have to ask whether it is masculine, feminine, or neutral. It is neutral as far as I know. Now you have to ask whether handi is in nominative case, accusative case, or dative case. Here, because I know it is in accusative case, so it will be here. So it will be, uh, you know. mm, Mein Handy, dein Handy, euer Handy, ihr Handy, sein Handy, and so on. It will never be, the sound of a will never come. Okay, because neutrum, you see the sound of a is never here. Check here in this column. Does not matter which possessive article we use. The sound of a is never here.
Mhm. So it depends upon the handy gender. Now, what to
Two
use?
things. It depends on the gender and it depends on the case. But if I look at this, if I look at this table, in neutrum, you never have a. You have kinem, kindness. You never have a, so the sound of a will never be there. Yeah. In feminine, it will be there. In plural, it can be there, but in neutrum and in masculine, you never have it. Check, right? But if you think like this, I believe you will confuse yourself more. All you have to do is just check. Which column, where does it fit? Which column, which row. That's it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will take some time to digest. Now you are thinking, right? Like every time I say a sentence, I have to check whether it is definite, indefinite, negation, or one of these. Like this is, if I have to check, I think this is like, if I really have to do the this is like 80 different options. In a sentence you have 80 different options again. But now, so I will say something. We have finished the session, guys. You can leave if you want, but I'll say something which is important. When you are speaking, you are not actually, so when you say something for the first time, even if you say, if you say something for the first time, you don't actually on the spot frame the sentence in your head. If I Most of the times you have said the same thing before, or if you have read it before. What I'm trying to say is that you never actually frame the sentence in your head, by the logic that we do it on paper. You don't say, okay, the subject is here, the verb is here, the object is here. You never do that. Your brain just, gives you the sentence, right? Because it has heard it somewhere, someone say it. What am I trying to say? These lessons are important when you are writing, or when you are like doing some homework. But in real life, the way you learn a language is by interacting. Interaction can be of many types. Either it can be, verbal communication, someone is talking to you, or it can be like, you're reading a book, or you're hearing a podcast. This is how you learn a language. We'll talk about it more, but what I want you to say is that attend as many sessions as you want. Complimentary, you pay your money, you take money from your company, I don't know, you take money from your child's pocket money so that so that you can do just some German language course. It will not help unless and until there is some kind of interaction happening in your life in German. Okay, so interaction is the key. Now, how to as I said, interaction can be of many varieties. You can actually talk to someone. Now when you say, you'll say, yeah, when I go to talk to someone, I don't know what to say. Then don't say, just listen. Believe me, if you want to become a better I mean, many of you know this already. If you want to become a better communicator, learn to listen. The best conversations that you may have heard with someone had with someone is where you spoke a lot and the other guy listened. He's like, man, that this guy listens. I could tell him everything I wanted. This also happens when you are talking to a client. If you just let the client tell whatever you want, he or she wants to say, the client is happy with you, because you listened. And there you are not speaking, you are just listening. you know and you don't need to understand each and every word. Most of the times you understand the context. you know for example, I recently went to I wanted to buy. I still, I think it's called buff, but at that point I did not know what is it called. So I went to the shop and I told him, like, haben Sie sowas, was man, den Hals herumträgt und dann über die Nase ziehen kann. So I told him, like, do you have something that you can, wear around your neck, and like you can also pull it over your nose in winter. And he understood what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that learn to listen, learn to interact. Okay. uh, One last homework that you have to do, all of you have to do. If you don't do it, of course I cannot stop you from joining the session, but I will not be happy. So any homework that I will give you, you will write it on paper. I have no idea whether you are doing it or not. Or you will start sending me on WhatsApp, which will unnecessarily fill my memory in phone. What you can do is, you can create, you all of you have a Gmail account. You go here, you click on plus, you create a new Google Slides, or you can create a new Google Docs, whichever you want, and then share. So when you click on share, you can, let's say you add a, let's say I add homework, and you can add your name, you can add your initials. For example, let's say I add the initials here, and then save. And then you, for example, because my email is already here, you add my email address and you share it with me. Okay, so you have to write practical German teacher and you share it with me. Just do this one homework so that when I give you homework, if you write on a piece of paper, take a photo and upload it to Google Slides that you have shared with me. Each one of you have to do it. If you don't do it, of course I cannot force you to do it, but if you do it, believe me, 6 years down the line, you will thank me. Okay, 6 years. If there are no more questions, we will end the session. If there are questions, please ask. Any questions? Okay, no questions, then I will count from, first of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for waking up at 7 a.m. I hope you were able to learn something. As I said, all we discussed today was from A1, so nothing from A2. We'll start with A2 next time on Monday. Please show up on time. Today we had some issues, but normally I started the 7, exactly 7.7. Yeah, I hope you have a nice Friday and then a nice weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. I'll count from 10 to 1 and then I will end the call. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Question? No question. 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.